Welcome to another episode of Bringing Down the Grindhouse, a podcast where we discuss horror in media. And today, we will be discussing The Shape of Water and Hellboy. I'm Mitch.
I'm Mur.
And I'm Jonathan.
What inspired us to pick these movies for this week? I think they're both just Guillermo del Toro's movies.
Yeah, I think this was sort of my choice, like kind of heavy on choosing both of them. Just because to me they had similar vibes, and it's most obviously because they were directed by the same director, but also they explore like a story that is horror-esque but not exactly horror.
I believe it's like they are horror-esque in so many ways, but they dwell into different subgenres.
Yeah, there's a bunch of like
Hellboy is like a superhero movie inspired by the Dark Horse comics, while I would say that The Shape of Water is a modern day fairy tale love story.
Yeah, it's like a Beauty and the Beast kind of thing.
You definitely have got like that sort of vibe with both of those movies. I would say, I would agree with Mur that like The Shape of Water is definitely like your romance horror.
Yeah.
And then you've got like Hellboy, which is like your action horror.
Yep.
Sort of thing.
There was also a romance in it.
Yeah.
I will say
there's a little bit.
Yeah.
I will say that this was the first time for me seeing these movies.
Either one?
Either one.
Oh,
yeah,
shit.
I didn't watch either of them, and I had a really good time with both of them. I had a lot of more fun with The Shape of Water, but
right.
I think we should probably just go over Hellboy first, because it was made first in 2004.
Yeah, it also shows where his directing skills were kind of at in 2004.
Basically with Hellboy, I mean, the thing about Guillermo del Toro, a great Mexican filmmaker, is that he loves monsters, and he's just fascinated with them, and he loves stories. So he just finds a way to put a lot of monsters into stories.
A lot of his monsters that he makes are explorations of his fears that he had as a child. So they translate it into films that he made.
Fucking dope.
Yeah, it's like he's talked about that a lot in his interviews. It's why he made like Pan's Labyrinth. It's why he made Hellboy. It's why he made like Crimson Peak. And God, what was the other one that he had made? I can't remember the name of the other film, but they're all based on like childhood fears, and he was like working it out.
Oh, Mimic,
that was the other one.
Yeah. Also did Pacific Rim.
Yeah, which is like, God, that movie's so good. We should talk about that at some point.
Yeah. Just going over some real quick specs.
Yeah.
The budget for this movie was $66 million, and it made $99.9 million at the box office.
It made a lot less than I thought it would. I don't know. Maybe it's just because superhero movies were not popular that like 2004. Like this was like, I think right before they kind of broke out with all of the Marvel movies.
Yeah, we had Blade and Blade 2.
Yeah.
And then like maybe a Daredevil movie.
Which is awful.
But Hellboy was just like a really crazy pick because it's not really a known superhero.
I mean, he said he had the script done in like 1998. Like he could have filmed it in 98, but no one wanted to take it up because superhero films were not popular. And so he had to wait and find somebody who like approved the story, and then it finally got done in 2004.
Fun fact about the production of the movie, though, because it is written by Mike Mignola.
Yeah.
They went down to the cutting board. It was him and Mike Mignola, and they're just like, all right, so on the count of 3, we're going to say who we want to star into this movie. All right, go. And they both said Ron Perlman at the same time.
He's so great. I think he's perfect as that casting, which like, I think he did well. And I think, the newer Hellboy that they made,
the one they made last year.
Yeah. I think that movie was shit, but the guy who they cast for it was perfect. Like those were two really good castings. He's Hopper.
David Hopper in Stranger Things.
Exactly. I think they were both really good versions of Hellboy, but he got such a shit movie for that one. It was so bad. But this movie all around.
I heard really nobody talk about it.
Yeah, it's for good reason. Like I couldn't even finish the movie. Like, do you know how often I don't finish a movie?
I don't know. I just didn't like the attitude, or the trailers didn't make me very excited for the newer Hellboy movie, the 2019 one. Anyway, plus, like, after reading the comic books, like we did in our previous episode and stuff, like, and going back and like kind of seeing it, I was like, I don't think this isn't the Hellboy that I like, and I feel Perlman captured the essence of what Hellboy is as a character a little bit better.
Yeah. He was also really like cocky version of his character because he always wanted to brag, and he constantly tells Liz how he's just always gonna look that attractive. Like, it's even like a line in the film, which is really funny. But he's great, and he has a really good stage presence for a character like that, so it fits well.
Yeah, I feel like it was like flirtatious sarcasm in that moment. With her, you know, because he's like, you know, I'm always gonna look this good after he's just been like beat in the face and ripped his own horns off and shit. You know, it's like
also super funny though. The only reason he said that is because Guillermo del Toro told his wife, you know, I'm always gonna look this good, baby, in response to his wife being mad at him for like, Guillermo, you wear like such bland clothes.
Oh man.
Baby, I'm always gonna look this good.
That's funny. I could imagine that happening between his wife and him.
Oh yeah, no, that's such a good. I think it's a good line.
So supporting him, we have John Hurt as Trevor Broom Bruttenholm, Hellboy's father. Does an excellent job. We have Selma Blair as the love interest, Liz Sherman, also known pyromancer. Rupert Evans as the new kid on the block, John Myers,
who's fucking hilarious. He's so like awkwardly new, like fresh recruit,
just super, just out of his element.
Yeah.
Carol Roden as our antagonist, Grigory Rasputin, which I thought was a very interesting fucking person.
I liked him. I liked that version of Rasputin. He was like, he's just pretentious. He thought he was like the best thing like ever, and like nothing could stop him.
Yeah, basically. Also, he's a pretty good villain as well. I mean, I like
odd to have Rasputin as like a antagonist when he was supposed to be dead for so long.
I mean, it makes sense though. Like, he was known as like this crazy mystic, so like I agree. Like, I think that would be cool to have. Like, it was weird, but it seems to fit somehow in the weird mythology that they created.
Yeah.
So definitely. Like, I think it worked out. Also, we can't forget Doug Jones, who plays Abe Sapien.
Oh, great.
An excellent job.
He's literally in both films. He's Abe Sapien, and he is the amphibian creature in Shape of Water.
Yep.
And he's just like, he's well known to be a creature actor because he is a contortionist as well as like a mime. So he's just really good at embodying the movement that comes for all these creatures, and he has so many like roles that are credited to him for all of the creatures. You just got to go look at his filmography. It's great.
Right, and he's worked with Guillermo del Toro for
times.
Most of his movies.
Yeah.
I think you were telling me about Pan's Labyrinth, how he plays the what?
He was like the fey creature in that one, the like tall satyr looking kind of thing.
With the eyes for hands.
No, the other one, the one that has horns and he's like hairy.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, the one you're thinking of is the creature like in one of the rooms that she visits. It's that movie. We should do that movie at some point too.
So what I'm getting here is so Doug Jones was the one that did all of the body motion work for Abe.
Yeah, and then it was voiced by a different person, which is interesting.
Yeah, it was David Hyde Pierce.
Yeah.
Who voiced him,
who wanted to be uncredited.
Yeah. That's the cool thing, is that he refused to go on tours. Well, Pierce refused to go on tours and whatnot out of respect for Doug Jones, who was physically in the film.
Which
I find
really
very
nice.
interesting.
Yeah, that's really nice of someone to do.
Yeah, exactly. He's just like, I didn't really do that. That was the guy that mouthed all his lines and stuff. I just like read them and collect an easy paycheck because I'm a voice actor.
Yeah, exactly.
Doug Jones had to go through like some very similar just makeup for both films. Like they made a suit for both films of him, and they had to paint him specifically for Hellboy for Abe Sapien, who I honestly think is my favorite character in this. But essentially they had to put on makeup for him for about 8 hours.
Damn.
And then had to go through the long process of taking it off every day.
Yeah, that seems exhausting.
Then they got a little bit smarter. They made a suit for him to use with mechanical gills and all that stuff, which is the same thing that they used for The Shape of Water.
Man.
But the thing is, with Doug Jones, he's super skinny. The how tight they made the suit, they weren't able to fit so many mechanics in it simply because it's a very skin tight suit. It's supposed to look like, watery flesh.
Yeah.
So at that point, they were just like, all right, CGI eyes, which is the Dark Crystal effect, where we have a practical effect with CGI over it to blend the two.
That's wild.
Just like in the Dark Crystal Age of Resistance that we talked about earlier last year. And yeah.
I like that they mentioned a lot of times when I was reading through the production stuff that the film was inspired by Ray Harryhausen films, who is like the creator of certain stop motion animations like Dynamation.
The big dick motherfucker Ray Harryhausen.
The guy who worked on like Jason and the Argonauts and Clash of the Titans. Like, this is the guy who really
the
made
stop motion guy.
Yeah. And it sucks, dude. They try to reach out to him to be like, hey, do you want to like come on set and like talk to people? And he was like, no thanks.
Well, he was just like, modern movies are just too violent.
Yeah, he didn't like it, which is hilarious coming from him, but
Yeah. Whatever. You know what? You could destroy claymation hydras, but god damn you if you try to shoot a wolf hybrid eel thing. I don't know what to call it.
Why do I feel like this was like the ultimate boomer moment?
Did he stop doing films?
He died.
I'm fucking dumb. All right. Anyways.
He died in like 94 or something like that. He was like 90.
Oh, no.
Yeah, his last film was Clash of the Titans, which is great because next week we are going to be talking about Clash of the Titans and Jason of the Argonauts for my birthday.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, that's sick. It's Spur's birthday soon.
Yep. It's getting there.
That is fantastic.
Yeah, but that was like their main influence. They wanted to make a movie like his movie, so the film itself didn't really have that much camera movement. It was using mostly wide shots for all the fights, all the introductions, things like that.
And the thing is, like, these fight scenes are just straight out of comic books.
Yeah, they mentioned numerous times that they were trying to emulate the stuff that like Jack Kirby had made, who is just a huge powerhouse in comics because he had worked on so many different like main Marvel heroes.
They did a really good job.
The thing about it is like Perlman at the helm. I mean,
he's so good.
He definitely he worked out heavily. He worked out like 7 days a week for the role, as most people do when you're trying to be a superhero figure. I mean, even fucking Paul Rudd, super funny dude, had to fucking work out just to become Ant-Man. So
yeah, right. That was like when you first saw the guy who plays Star-Lord. What is his name?
Oh, Chris Pratt. When he was Andy Dwyer.
Fucking just like a chubby character in the TV show, and then just got ripped to play Star-Lord.
Right.
That was sick.
I do know that Ron Perlman. It was really funny though, because they wanted to originally put the giant fist on the left hand so he could use. They were like, oh well, what if he's right-handed? Then we'll just make two fists. And then, luck of the draw, Ron Perlman is actually left-handed.
Oh shit!
So he could actually preserve the right hand of Doom. Is what they call the giant
exactly.
fist.
That's pretty cool.
He actually did break a rib during the filming of the subway scene where he jumped onto a 45-mile-per-hour train.
Oh god.
Hell yeah.
That's wild. Oh fuck. Breaking a rib sounds terrible.
Man, and if we thought Ron Perlman was just a badass actor, he's just a badass in real life too.
He's getting up
breaks
there,
rib
he's a little
for
older
it
now.
He's caning it now, I think.
Oh dang.
You also remember
Poor
that
guy.
Ron Perlman was one of the main characters in Blade 2, which we talked about a couple weeks back.
Yep, where he never took off his shades.
Nope. He never did take off his shades. He was like, I'm too cool. Yeah.
essentially though, they just wanted to stay true to the comic, and a lot of
Yeah.
executives just didn't like that.
They didn't like the
'cause
idea at all.
They wanted it to be like, oh hey, like he turns into Hellboy. What if it's a normal guy that turns into Hellboy?
Right.
And Guillermo del Toro just wouldn't have it.
It was like, are you fucking dumb? Like, do you not know this source material?
He worked really closely with Mike Mignola, the guy who created it.
Yeah. Oh, that makes a lot of sense though,
Yeah.
because it makes sense. Even the first film has a little bit of that German expressionism in it too.
Oh, totally.
Especially like the opening scenes and whatnot. They do a lot of interesting like comic book shade, just like the scene, not even action scenes, just the scenes themselves are just very much in line with that art style. And I really liked that because it was a nice homage to the comics themselves.
Yep. I'm glad you bring up the intro scene, because we probably should go over some plot points about it, right?
Yeah, go for it.
So basically, Nazis are trying to make a rift in space to summon elder gods.
Yeah.
Yeah, that breaks it down pretty good.
They're like conduit is Rasputin.
Yeah, somehow he's alive, even though 1916, and it was 44 when this shit's going down. But
yeah, man, he figured out how to reincarnate himself.
I will say the German like sword slinger, dude. Oh my god.
Oh, you mean the assassin, Hitler's like main assassin, that guy?
Yep.
Or no? Yeah, he is fucking crazy in this movie. He's like probably one of some of the coolest fight scenes come from him also, and also some of the creepiest moments. Like him working on himself is just strange.
Is that the dude who's Carl Ruprecht? I can't even pronounce his name. Cronin?
Carl Ruprecht Cronin.
Yeah.
Yep.
Cronin, the dude in like the SS outfit with like the gas mask.
Yep, that guy. Yeah. And the blades.
That guy's nuts.
Yep.
So
yeah, I can't tell you how many times they played that noise.
Yeah.
So we have John Hurt as a informant for the U.S. invading an island with a bunch of U.S. American soldiers.
Right.
And they're basically saying like, man, I just learned what the term supernatural means. What are you talking about?
Abnormal. I've never even heard the term.
Yeah. And come to find out, Nazis are trying to summon elder gods from across the fucking universe.
I don't know, man. That seems on brand for Nazis, not gonna lie. They were doing weird occult shit.
Dude, the thing is, like, I love this intro because it's so comic book. It is. Because Nazis were fucking with the occult.
Yeah.
Super hard back in the day. And they even make a reference to it later in the film when they go to the secret FBI hideout.
Yeah.
With the Spear of Destiny or the Spear of Longinus. Longinus, yeah. But do you guys know about that?
Yeah, I love that because he's like, yeah, when Hitler died in such year, he's like, Hitler didn't die that year. And he's like, oh, really?
Is that what they tell you?
Yeah, exactly.
Did he now?
Yeah, it's a great line.
So for those that don't know, the Spear of Destiny is basically, it is said to be the spear that pierced Jesus when he hung from the cross.
Yep.
And killed him. The spear supposedly holds supernatural powers that can make one invincible.
Yeah.
As well as other things. Hitler actually grabbed a hold of this in real time, though. That's an actual fact.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
When did that happen?
So when Germany was about to invade Austria,
yeah.
Essentially what happened was Hitler sent out an informant to just be a casual civilian in Austria to go to the museum in which the spear was there.
Oh.
And then the day that he walked into the city, the informant dressed into the Nazi uniform and stood guard until Hitler was there to take the rightful what would you call it? Like a ancient artifact, basically.
Yeah, he like plundered it, basically.
And then he always had it in the back of his mind that Germany and Austria were never to be defined as Germany and Austria, because this is totally Roman Empire territory.
Oh, wow.
And so they didn't want to take it to Berlin, which was the brain of the Roman Empire, but they took it to Nuremberg, the heart of the Roman Empire.
Of course.
and then which case the U.S. got a hold of it eventually after the Nuremberg trials, and it's also in some kind of like shack, or not shack. It's in some warehouse in Nevada, in like fucking right next to the Ark of the Covenant and fucking the woolly mammoth and everything else.
Wait, so did they lose track of it at some point?
No. After the Nuremberg trials, I'm pretty sure America got a hold of it, and then basically they made a whole movie about it called Constantine.
That's true. They did focus that. We need to talk about Constantine at some point.
All right. There's more. There's more to this story. So everything up to it getting it being found in Nuremberg and whatnot, it was stored in St. Catherine's Church in Nuremberg, and then until 1944, and then it was moved to a specially constructed vault beneath the church, built in secret and at great expense, intended to protect it and the other stolen relics from Allied bombs.
Shit.
Nuremberg was captured by Allied troops in April of the following year. The vault was subsequently discovered by American Army forces, and then the Spear of Destiny was confiscated by American forces on the afternoon of April 30th, 1945, less than 2 hours after the Spear of Destiny was Allied forces. Hitler committed suicide like after they captured it.
Fucking shit.
Yeah, Hitler wanted UFOs. He wanted laser guns, and the dude wanted the Spear of Destiny to let loose hell for his new world order.
Does the United States still have it?
Yes.
It was confiscated and moved. I'm not sure where it is now.
So weird.
Like I said, it's probably in some underground secret base.
They're back in Austria now. They were returned to Austria in 1946.
Oh.
Yeah.
It's in Austria.
All the Spear of Destiny and the rest of the Imperial regalia were returned to Austria.
Oh shit.
And they're on public display at the Hofsburg Museum.
Interesting.
There you go. Insane. Anyway, so
quick history lesson, yeah.
There you go. Quick history lesson, interesting stuff. So this is some real shit, and then they kind of throw in the espionage aspect of it, like, oh, the war went on a little bit longer, but I bet America told you to calm you down.
I really like the cut in the movie where he's like, "Let me tell all of you that the group of the Bureau of Paranormal Research and Defense does not exist. There is no such thing." And then it cuts. And it says it right on the screen where it's like
there's the little card, the title card for it.
And shows that he's arriving there. And I'm like, this is great. Because that's exactly what happens.
Tom Manning, also known as George Bluth, Jeffrey Tambor.
Yeah.
just a total schmuck in this movie, but in all honesty, he plays it off pretty well. Like, I can't keep telling the public these lies, man. They're gonna have to figure out one of these days.
My favorite is the talk show where he's just like, why in all of these pictures, why is Hellboy always blurry?
Like asking the real fucking questions.
Like, pictures of Bigfoot and shit like that.
But I mean, also, this character is one of the most naive FBI agents I think I've ever seen.
It's so bad.
I've never seen such incompetence from an FBI agent in a film. Usually they're like painted as someone who really has their shit together, but no.
Right.
This guy is like, if Hellboy wasn't there, he would be dead.
Oh, totally.
Like, so many times.
Yeah, he saves his ass.
Yeah. Despite him being a prick to him.
So then what we have is after this rift into the void is opened, Hellboy is let loose, and they find him as a child.
Yeah, you also get a glimpse of the giant eldritch fucking monsters in space that are just floating there frozen.
Yeah.
Super crazy
Super cool.
shit. They then take him under the wing, and they find the Bureau quickly after that, where he's been, chilling out, working out, eating a bunch of chili and smoking cigars.
Yeah, apparently he ages very slowly.
And he loves Baby Ruths and hates the comic book series.
That's just hilarious because in the movie the comics exist.
Yeah. The actual comics from the fucking writer.
So like you get actual Hellboy comics because the person who made the Hellboy comics approved it.
Yeah.
Good shit.
Great.
Yeah, so you got to do shit like that. It was cool.
Then we finally have the new kid on the block, John Hurt, taking over as the caregiver of Hellboy, not John Hurt, sorry. Rupert Evans, Johnny Myers.
Yeah, he shows up.
He is showing up, trying to take over, basically control Hellboy, simply because Trevor Brunholm, the father of Hellboy, is dying.
Yeah, he's got cancer. I don't know, something that's
Yeah, he
him.
has multiple cancer that's spread all over the place.
Yeah, so
basically.
he's definitely like expecting to die very soon and wants to like pass on the like leadership role to somebody that's also human.
And they go into this underground bureau area, and it's pretty intense. And if I'm being real, I kind of wish that we could have saw more of that.
Oh yeah, like more areas of what that
more
facility
areas,
is.
dude. More just like, hey, do you remember that thing you learned in history that's missing? Here it is.
Right. He had like a display case.
When they look at the Spear of Destiny, I was just like, dude, that's gonna come into play. It never did.
I know. I thought it was too. I really thought it was like a loaded gun kind of thing where it's like, check it out. You're gonna see this in like the third act.
I was like so excited to see the Spear of Destiny actually be used, like an ancient Jesus artifact that is fucking untouchable. But no,
dude, Jesus lore is wild.
But then we get introduced to the team, or the duo as it is. He walks in and finds a fish tank in this super nice, just regular ass fucking, what would you call it?
It's like a library.
Yeah, like a library.
Yeah.
Can you turn the page for me, please?
He's reading like 6 books at a time.
Yeah, so
what's
Abe
funny
Sapien,
too is that eggs are included in both films as the creature's like favorite food.
They give him rotten eggs in this one.
Yeah, except rotten eggs in Hellboy.
Yeah.
It's just random. It's a random like
callback
similarity in both films.
Yeah, both films do have a fish man. That is a funny similarity between the two of them.
No, I mean specifically the egg eating.
Oh yeah, the egg eating for sure, and that they both have a fish man.
Egg eating fish men.
Yeah,
yeah, egg eating fish men is a commonality here.
Yeah, I mean he needs a strict protein diet, as they say in The Shape of Water.
Yeah, exactly. Well, the Hellboy's dad gets at the idea that Hellboy kind of has to figure out if he's gonna go down a certain path, because he knows that his like destiny, basically, which Rasputin tells him, is that like his destiny is to be the right hand of doom and to destroy like everybody on Earth. But obviously Hellboy doesn't want to do that, so like he shaves down his horns. He joins like this group to like hunt down demons and stop them from killing people. So he's like stuck between choosing a good or bad path, and that's sort of like what the film explores.
And it's pretty intense, because I do have to say this though, the little glimpse that we get into the quote unquote future for Hellboy,
right,
rips, I mean, not even rip, but Doom Eternal straight up rip that shit, dude. I'm not even joking. You see eldritch like tentacles in the sky.
Yeah,
you see a burning apocalypse of just skyscrapers and rubble with demons. I mean, like it when I saw that, I was like, I'm just playing Doom Eternal right now, and it was just like a shot for shot almost recreation in some areas of the game. Fucking crazy shit.
Something interesting about this film is it asks the question of whether or not it is usually correct to follow your own destiny, sort of like a moral question.
Right.
Is it always right to follow your destiny?
Yeah. In this case, he cared a lot about the people that he was working with, especially the woman he fell in love with, which was Liz. And she was kind of uniquely like appropriate for who he was. He's fireproof. Has fire powers.
Yeah, and burns everything around her whenever she activates those powers too.
Yeah,
she
doesn't have a lot of.
She uses them.
Yeah, she doesn't seem like she has very good control over it, like at all.
No, she eventually gets a little better control as the films go on. Like if you watch like the second one.
Yeah, I've seen the second one, but it's been a long time.
I like the second one. I liked it a lot.
Yeah, I remember enjoying it too. I remember being like, that was enjoyable.
The most underrated villain, really, in like recent films, honestly.
Oh damn.
Yeah,
okay.
Selma Blair as Liz, she definitely pulls off that like I'm in rehab, I'm trying to get better.
Yeah.
Kind of emotion out, and it definitely contrasts when John Myers is trying to put the hit on her, you know, just because Ron Perlman's character's Hellboy gets super jealous.
I like that whole bit where he's just following them. And
he talks to the kid on the fucking rooftop.
He talks to that kid, and it's just like, yo, check this out. Watch his arm. And then he sees him like do the yawning move and everything, but then he just fucking pelts him in the forehead with a rock.
Oh, dude,
that shit's hilarious.
I just love that, because like must feel so dope to just, have a superhero just on your rooftop.
Right.
Just, I'm on a spy mission.
Yeah, no one's gonna believe you.
You feel that child's joy. You're just like, yes, Hellboy, I'll guard your mission. Where are you going?
Right.
Do you want cookies? My mom made cookies.
Yeah.
I'm glad that they included comical moments like that for the film, like, because there was other parts of the film that were extremely serious, like what we were talking about earlier with his
That's
decision. So it balanced stuff out.
One of the things I liked about at least the comical moments of this movie, where they translated from comics to film, which was something that you saw a lot of in the comics, was the comedy mixed with serious moments.
Right.
So, for instance, in the movie, which is something that's also in the comics to a similar situation, though it's not exactly the same, is one where I think it was Liz is right beneath him, right beneath Hellboy, like through a floor, and then Hellboy's up top. And then she's like, you need to get down here, like, right now. And he's like, I'm coming. And he just starts, like, smashing through the floor to get down there.
Oh, yeah.
And, like, he's like that, like, I'm on my way, Like, it's just funny.
wall.
And I think that he did something similar, but it was, like, I think a group of enemies were in front of him, and he's trying to get to probably her or Abe or something like that. And he's just like, on my way. And then he gets dragged, pulled through the floor, like, I'm still coming. This is, like, funny shit like that.
I like it. That makes me think of the panel that I saw for one of the comics where he runs into this monster like in the forest, and he was just like, who the fuck are you? And he has like the gun out, and then the monster actually answers. He's like, oh, my name's Paul. And he's like, oh. And he like puts his gun down. He's like, hi, Paul. It's just a funny ass moment because he's so serious. He's like ready to shoot this guy. And then he's like, oh, wait. Oh, hey, what's up?
And the gun, the Samaritan,
yeah.
a huge ass revolver, carries 4 shots and has some pretty sick.
Is it really
bullets.
only 4 shots?
They are 22 millimeter fucking metal tipped bullets.
22. Isn't that like as big
Yeah,
as your finger?
It's huge. It's huge.
Yeah.
The bullets contain holy water,
I love
silver, cloves, and oak tree.
Yeah,
And,
all those blessed things.
Yeah, exactly. We see this in his first confrontation with Samuel, pretty much the main hellhounds for this movie.
It's the son of Samael.
Son of Samael, also known as Lord of the Shadows, Harbinger of Pestilence, Seed of Destruction, and Hound of Resurrection.
Oh, yeah,
and then,
that's
like,
right.
Harbinger of Plagues and a whole bunch of other fucking things. Like, there's like a whole list.
So basically, not to just dwell on like plot points, but essentially these demons are coming together and they're fighting each other. Or not fighting each other. They're coming out of the woodwork to spawn each other, so it could make Hellboy go into that void and become the Harbinger or the right hand of Doom, essentially.
Yeah.
And they
That's
all
like
come
his
back.
job as a demon.
And they come back near the end of the movie because we're going through trying to kill all of these, but fail at every attempt, and a couple agents die. Near the end, they go into like this Russian church kind of thing, right, John?
Yeah, it's like a temple kind of. It's intended for the ritual, and then he even brings the cutout of where Hellboy is supposed to put his right hand, which is like the key to unlock it, and then be able to. It's like a signal into space for the eldritch creatures to like come through into their plane of existence.
Yeah. So basically, like they succeed in their plan,
right?
But Hellboy,
he resists.
He basically tells Liz to use her power, and she uses her power to destroy all these Samael dogs. And Hellboy's like, finally, that was over. It's all good. And then he proceeded to get fucking picked up by an eldritch god that is undescribable, because that's what eldritch gods are.
Doesn't it like burst out of Rasputin?
Mm-hmm. After one of his eyes gets knocked out, you just see like a tentacle like surge under him.
Yeah, and then it just rips open and basically eats him, but not before he is able to undo all of those grenades and then explodes it from inside.
Mm-hmm.
Another fun kill was the that Nazi fucking war general, where like the one with the gas mask.
Oh yeah.
Where he just throws him into the pit and then drops the giant cog onto him.
Yeah. Well, that was a weird character because he was like obsessed with surgically changing himself. So he like cut his eyelids off. He had no lips. He like did all.
He was
this
like
weird
some
shit.
of my favorite because a lot of his stuff's practical effects, except for like his eyes and like his hand and whatnot.
Right.
But a lot of his like body work and stuff looks really cool.
Yeah,
I love
really
it
well
too
done.
because the dad goes over it real quick, but he says like this man's blood has dried up centuries ago or whatever,
Sand.
and he's just been working on fucking like gears essentially.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
That's why he's so like weird. Like the way he moves, his movement is kind of robotic.
It's really cool, and the practical effects you got to give it to them, especially with Guillermo del Toro. He loves scary and monster like shit.
Right.
Which is like a good comparison because that guy alters himself for evil, while Hellboy alters himself to stay away from that.
Yeah, he fucking cuts off his horns. He like shaves them down.
But yeah, I mean I don't really have too much to say about the movie. It's a superhero movie that has occult like stuff in it, and it definitely just makes me want to watch the sequel.
Right.
But overall, I was just kind of like, yeah, that was a fun one for 2004. Not bad.
The sequel is really good. It brings in like lore from another part of the comics, and it basically gets at the idea that there was some sort of agreement at some point between humans, elves, and like one other species of creatures, and that like they essentially wouldn't kill each other anymore. But the crown prince of the elves is trying to retrieve some like artifacts that belong to his family, so that he can get like an army to fight back against the humans, because he doesn't like that they're not really listening to the treaty anymore. But he's really good, and I think it's a pretty good movie. It got shit on. Like when it came out,
fuck.
like nobody liked it. They thought it was a terrible movie, but I was like, what? This is a really good movie. So it's just one of those movies that I was like totally against the critics on it. I was like, no, this is legit. You should go watch it.
I give thumbs up to the practical effects.
Yeah, really good practical
that they
effects
use in these movies.
The only other thing that stood out in Hellboy to me was that it was dealing really broadly with certain ideas, and one of them was obviously Hellboy's decision to be good or bad. That was kind of the overarching feeling of the movie, was the good versus bad story that kind of progresses. And then him feeling alone and separated from society. And Liz feels the same way too, where she says that she can't really be around anybody because she's going to hurt them. So that was kind of like the main things that stood out to me for that film.
Definitely. Yeah, it was. I felt like it becomes like, you have like, your fight against good and evil for sure, but then you just have this character with a very a pretty interesting internal conflict, to be honest. There's not many characters that they themselves will bring about the apocalypse and constantly make the choice to not do it while their enemies try to convince them to do so.
It was also a really grand story. Like it had a large scale to it compared to like the smaller scale of The Shape of Water.
Yeah, it's just kind of funny where they're just like your doom is to follow the path you're supposed to follow. Like you're thinking like that. It's just it's a very good concept for a storyline in general. So it works really well for this movie, and indeed it makes a very intricate and intriguing plot for sure, and a good character too.
What do you guys think of the end?
Fine.
I mean, it's just one story out of his whole story arc, so it made sense that it wouldn't like end specifically.
I mean, they didn't get the FBI agent out of there.
Right.
I mean, you saw the ending credit, right? It had a Marvel ending fucking credit.
Yeah, he's just like, yo, what the fuck? Like, where are you guys at?
Where is everyone?
Yeah, that's funny.
I thought it was nice because they come together. Like, I produce fire and can't control it. I can't catch on fire.
Yeah.
Well, like, why are we playing with each other? Why don't we just be in love?
Yeah, she was kind of trying to avoid him for a long time, but ended up being like, we're just gonna be together, and they are, sort of, in the second one.
It's a weird relationship.
Yeah, it gets weird.
What do you think of the end, Mitch?
The ending of the movie itself.
Yeah.
I mean, there's the awesome fight with Rasputin's like gut bursting monster. Pretty cool. I mean, there's like a lot of, I mean, there's stuff you could easily analyze about it a little bit, but it's a really like hero's journey story, and
yeah,
you know,
I felt like it's like a tragedy because we know that at some point he's probably not going to be able to escape that fate.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
it might be a time when he has to do it or something along those lines. But as far as now, but it's kind of like he's always going to be running from being, you know, becoming the thing that ends all things.
Yep, exactly. Well, I feel like this is a good time to switch over to the other film we watched, which was The Shape of Water.
Woo! What a fucking film!
It's amazing.
Yeah, it's so well done, and I feel like this is probably his best movie.
It's his favorite movie.
It is definitely his favorite movie, and he's commented on how this film was really adult for him. Like he this wasn't something that he had thought of as a child. He thought of the idea like over breakfast or lunch or something with somebody and was like, we have to make it. And then it was also like his own like fanfic of fucking Creature of the Black Lagoon. Like he wanted the creature to be with the woman, so like he kind of just made his own fanfiction.
I mean, it really is, and it feels like that too, especially after just recently seeing it, which on one of our other past episodes too.
Yeah.
It was very interesting watching this movie and going like really seeing where his influence comes from, which is, you know, from those more classic horror movies, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
He was asked to do the Universal one because Universal, you know, they did The Invisible Man with Lee Winnell.
Right.
They're doing that restructured cinematic universe for the Universal model. They're trying. Oh, they're trying.
Yeah, they can't get it off the ground.
Lee Winnell did a phenomenal job.
Is Del Toro going to do it or no?
Hold on. He said he was going to do it, but then he wanted to tell them, I don't want this to be your run-of-the-mill. I kind of want this to be from the perspective of the creature.
Yeah.
And they're like, nah, we ain't having
that. They rejected it hard.
All right, I'm going to go make my own. And in some ways, it is the only like retelling of the Creature from the Black Lagoon-esque kind of story that we have for like 50 or 45 years.
Yeah. No one had attempted it.
I mean, arguably this is because remember, okay, so whoa. All right, so remember there's the really like the tough asshole guy from Creature of the Black Lagoon. Yes. I forget his actual name, but there's the tough asshole guy, and then there's like the scientist save everybody.
Oh, totally, yeah.
So it's like in an alternate future where the bad guy wins in that situation and brings the creature back.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
That's exactly right.
That's totally what he's like rolling with right now. And then love saved the day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. No, that's exactly right.
Yeah. I think the funniest thing about it is Guillermo del Toro was like, so when I was 6, I watched Creature of the Black Lagoon,
right?
And then I watched King Kong, and while I'm watching them, I'm just like, oh, I'm sure these guys are going to come out on top, right? The creature's going to get the girl, right?
Yeah.
He's going to get the girl, right? Just like,
I'm telling you, man, this is fanfic of Creature of the Black Lagoon.
Well, now we know that Guillermo del Toro is truly like a fishy. Or whatever the term is for someone who wants to be an aquatic being,
furry, isn't it?
No, I don't think so. They call them like scaly.
No, they don't. You're bullshitting.
Is it a scaly? No, I'm not. No, I'm not bullshitting you. It's got to be scaly.
Wait,
it has to be.
It has to be. I don't think that scalies are also furries.
Wait. So there's a difference. If
there
you
probably
have,
is.
If you have
we're spitballing here.
Or something else. Yeah, are we just spitballing it? Like there can't be a difference, right?
All right. Well, one moment. I will ask the great internet.
Right. Let me Google this.
While you do that, I'll just go over a little bit of some production.
Hell yeah.
It should be noted this movie was nominated for 17 different awards at the Academy Awards.
So many awards.
I will go over each and every one of them.
No, don't do that.
Best Picture, Director, Actress, Supporting Actor, Supporting Actress, Best Original Screenplay, Cinematography, Costume Design, Film Editing, Original Score, Production Design, Sound Editing, and Sound Mixing.
Yeah, it was very ready to mop up the Academy Awards that year.
It dominated super hard.
And it won Best Picture.
Yep.
Best Director.
Yeah.
best
Film
production design, and best original score by Alexander Desplat.
who is just like the most decorated fucking composer ever. He has so many awards because he just does original compositions and scores for films like constantly.
He did fucking Fantastic Mr. Fox, Moonrise Kingdom. He did 2014's Godzilla. He did fucking Grand Budapest Hotel.
Yeah.
Just so much.
And then on top of all those awards, it premiered at the 74th Venice International Film Festival, and it won the award for the best film there, which is the Golden Lion.
Hell yeah.
So it's just, I feel like that's kind of unfair, though. I'm not gonna lie. Like somebody who's doing an indie film goes to the same festival, and then you have fucking Del Toro dropping The Shape of Water, and you're like, well, fuck, I guess I'm not winning this year.
That's the thing. Kevin Smith even tweeted after watching it, it's like movies like these that make me ask myself, am I a director?
Right. Yeah. Honestly, am I a fucking director?
So the music by Alexander Desplat is a phenomenal soundtrack that captivates all the emotions that you're feeling. This is a very emotional movie.
I feel like he just sat after the film was done. He just started making music like while he was watching it, because it looks like it's perfectly set for whatever is going on in the film, and it's really subtle. There's not a whole lot that's like in your face, except for the part where she has like her show tunes moment where she's like dancing in black and white and like singing and everything.
That's probably the more surreal moment in the film.
Yeah.
It's very whimsical and just like fairy tale-esque. You hear these like certain parts that just, they remind you of like Italy, they remind you of like old America. It's just like they hit so many notes. And fun fact, I told John this before recording, but I listened to this soundtrack the day after I watched this movie on my way to work.
Yeah.
And when they played You'll Never Know with Renee Fleming, I cried on my way to work, and I was in tears when I clocked in that day.
Oh no. Oh my gosh.
It moved me so much. Like as a person, just like that song talks about people that you miss, whether they're loved ones or people that have passed on.
Right.
And so for me, like just as a normal person feeling so much emotion, I can't imagine what our main character is feeling going through this entire experience with the Gillman, or other known as the Asset.
Totally cried the first time because I thought they were both dead. I was like, motherfucker. I'm like, we watched this whole movie and they're going to fucking die right here at the end, but then they survive. And I was like, oh, okay. But I was still crying.
It's a great soundtrack, and there's a lot of emotion in this film. I mean, Guillermo del Toro said, I didn't want a film that was just, like, I wanted it super stylized, but I want this to be more about, this pulls at your heartstrings because it should.
Right. Oh, totally. He deals with a lot of stuff in this film, like a lot of adult things too, like things we experience as we get older.
Which is great because like it's so different from Hellboy, because Hellboy had a PG rating. This went full rated R, like just all the way to the top. We're gonna have an adult fairy tale made for modern audiences.
Oh, totally.
Which we should talk about some production notes real quick.
Yeah.
Okay.
So what we've learned now is that Guillermo del Toro could potentially be a scaly.
So real quick, we're just gonna go over some production notes. The budget was $20 million, and it made $3 million at the box.
So much money.
The film was almost made in black and white, but because of costs was cut down to.
They gave him two options. He was like waffling between the two, and so he went to his executives and was like, "Can I make it in black and white?" They're like, "If you make it black and white, you're only getting 17 million, but if you make it in color, we'll give you 20 million." And so he decided to make it in color anyway. So that was like the main thing that he did, but he was really thinking about it. He was like, "I kind of want this movie to be black and white."
Yeah, it could be cool.
It would be cool.
The color schemes in this movie are so great and on point with the aesthetics.
Yeah, it fits. It's very like
the greens and blues.
Early 50s.
Sorry, not green, teal.
Yes, it's like teal 50s, 60s grime like you had on everything.
We got Sally Hawkins doing a wonderful job. playing a mute character who does only sign language.
Yep.
Michael Shannon as Richard Strickland, the asshole of the movie.
He's the villain, and he's so full of himself.
He's one damn good one at that. His intro scene where he like comes in and pees without touching himself.
God, dude, he just freehand pees.
Tells a lot about a man when he washes his hands. If he does it first or before.
But if he does it both times, that's a weakness in character.
Coward. Yeah.
That was weird. I was like, what the fuck? What does that even mean? That's like the most 50s thing I've ever heard.
This movie's 50s. Which is crazy because the next two cast members are like, they would have been barred from a 50s movie. Richard Jenkins is Giles, the gay neighbor to Sally Hawkins.
Yeah, he's like super closeted gay man who like won't tell anybody he's gay.
And Octavia Spencer is Zelda Fuller, the cleaner that also is the translator for Eliza.
Yeah, they're friends like 10 plus years. She's so great. I love her in this film. And
I really do like Michael Stolberg's character, Dr. Robert Hofstetler.
Yeah, a.k.a. Dmitry Moznikov.
Yeah. The scientist that helps
secret
the escape.
Spy. And then, of course, Doug Jones, who's in both films.
Good fucking acting on his part.
Literally the same character. Like, it's like the same character.
Right.
It's some sort of amphibian man. Like, it's great.
But the thing is, like, Doug Jones in Hellboy, he's a sophisticated...
Yeah, very well learned.
Book learned fucking amphibian creature. Well, this is just a wild animal. And a god considered to, like, the Amazonian tribes which the creature came from.
Right. Oh yeah, totally. And he ends up having like powers.
Yeah, he has the fucking Baby Yoda healing powers.
Baby Yoda healing powers. He does. He like glows. And he has like bioluminescence. Which
was executed with, minimal, with just like it's like the neon stick, like glow stick shit.
Oh, like a little glow stick kind of technology.
But they did it with like black lights and stuff like that.
That's cool. They must have just put in like LEDs or something mixed with that.
Nope.
What? So they just poured that like into a little container?
They painted him that certain way, and then they did the lighting in such a way that it looked like he was bioluminescent.
Oh, that's cool.
No LEDs.
I like that. So,
really great practical effects, and it also same with the dark crystal fucking effect here, where it's a man in the suit. Took 2 hours, by the way, not a lot of time for fucking monster makeup.
Right.
2 hours is relatively fucking short for monster makeup. But then, mixed with like mechanical gills and then CGI eyes and facial expressions, that works.
Right.
What do you think we should just talk about? I mean, there's a lot to be said about Richard Strickland, how like he is the character that Giles is painting the entire movie.
Oh, yes.
And even so, like, his wife comes in and brings him like the green jello.
That I'm so glad you mentioned it, because like he was basically talking about, he even makes the joke about he looks as happy as the guy who just discovered the missionary position. And that's literally how he has sex with his wife.
Oh my god.
He has sex with his wife in missionary position. It's the most awkward sex scene you've ever seen. And then he doesn't want to hear her speak. So like you said, he puts his fucking hand over her face, but like with his rotting fingers. It's just so bad. All around.
It is. And then the thing is, like, I think it was because he was like getting the hots for Eliza,
Well, he does come on to her at the end and it's just like, I don't mind the scars. Like, I bet I can make you squawk. I was like, oh, this is really uncomfortable. Like, why are you doing this right now?
You're talking to your employee this way.
Yeah, that was fucked. And it doesn't surprise me, though, because he's fucking terrible.
I like that he chews candy throughout the entire movie, too.
Fucking, yeah. What was he eating? I didn't see what candy it was.
I didn't either, but I like his description when he's killing Dimitri about it.
Oh, my God. Yeah, how he's just like a simple man.
I'm a simple man. People have their pleasures. You know, when I'm feeling anxious, I just chomp right into it.
He's the worst kind of villain because he fits the caricature of a 50s man. Like he's like the 50s man's man who is sexist.
He tries to be that way too. He actively tries to be the 50s man that, you know, he's like today, like if he was like 80 years old, he would be a boomer.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
I mean,
that's what he is.
Hey man, you know, 80% of all successful people drive a Cadillac.
God,
walks out
right.
the door
You know
with
what?
that thing.
That was a good car salesman. Like that guy was good at selling cars.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He like knew exactly what he needed to tell him to get him in that fucking car, and he sold it to him.
And the thing is, like, I mean, this is behind a 1962 Cold War era backdrop,
right?
Which pulls a perfect dynamic between the cleaners and like the Russian spy that's working to it.
Yeah, exactly.
I like that, you know, the Strickland takes over as head of security, and just the guy underneath him basically like crumbles into like nothing.
Right.
Is his bitch throughout the entire movie. But I think it's crazy because like they just straight up see the monster in this cleaning. Like it must be so weird to work at a government facility where like shady stuff is going on,
right?
And all you're doing is cleaning up shit.
Their roles as the custodians and cleaning up these areas gave them the perfect cover to be able to just go anywhere, and people don't really notice them all that much. There's scenes where Zelda's character is talking to her about her husband, and no one around them is really paying them any mind, even though they're like right in front of these panels. They're going in and out of doors. So this works for their advantage when they're moving around, but it also is this piece of social commentary about how they felt about women in the workplace and how they felt about black people in the workplace.
Yep.
Like
especially
they
like
completely ignored
Zelda
them.
has that stereotypical like, oh, my husband, you know, my husband.
Right.
He's this, he's that. And she's a working woman, and like it like near the end of the film when Zelda get the door, it's like literally like 2 feet in front of him.
Yeah, that was so annoying. I was like, this
dude, that whole scene, he is the most spineless and useless piece of shit in that room.
Yeah.
Like at that moment, like, like he just the only thing that he's useful for is being a rat.
Yeah, that was fucking shit. He just totally outed them.
Yeah, no joke.
And the thing is, like, the portrayal of black people in this movie doesn't end there. I mean, there's the whole pie scene, and like when Giles makes the hit on the guy, like the guy fakes his accent to get people into the store.
Right.
I'm from like, he's anywhere near a southern draw, but he plays it because like his company tells him to. Giles goes in for the pie and stays to talk about his life, you know.
I do gotta say though, when he comes over and sits down and talks to him, I thought the first time I watched it, I was like, oh, maybe this guy's gay too. But then he wasn't, and I was like, oh, what was I expecting in this film? But it's just the way he approached him that like he seemed extra friendly.
Right.
So I guess that was the point, like to make you kind of fall into that, and then it really takes a turn when the black couple comes in. He's like, you can't sit down. They're all reserved all day. Like, if you want something, take it to go. I'm like, oh, shit, that's right. This is 50s when everything was segregated. Like, this is fucked up.
And he's like, you best be leaving too. Y'all come back now, you hear?
Yeah, that was so fucked up. Jeez.
God.
That was a rough moment. That was like when Strickland talks to Zelda and Eliza, and he asks Zelda, oh, you know, are you like an only child? Do you have any siblings? And she's like, nope, just me. And he's like, oh, that's like uncommon for your people, right? And I was like, oh, shit, like this is blatantly racist. And she's like, oh no, like my mom died like after having me, so that was it. And Zelda is in no way a caricature of a 50s black woman. She's very well spoken all the way through, and I feel like it was done on purpose to break whatever stereotype was trying to be put onto her character.
Yeah, at the end of the movie, she puts her foot down and says, you know, to her husband, you know, you never want to talk, but now you suddenly do. No, no.
And he sits the fuck down.
I was really excited during that part. I thought the scientist who helps the escape, I thought it was really great for him because he's dealing with a force that he can't reckon with. It's an entire nation trying to steal an asset for basically like furthering their research to get ahead of the US, and he in a way falls in love with the creature as well.
Yeah, as a scientist, he wants to
as
like
a scientist
study it, figure out like how to help him and whatnot. And he poor guy, he ends up getting shot at the end of the film.
Dude, I think it's so intense when he has to sit on that cinder block and they come up in the car and he has to say a password every time.
Yeah, I mean, he's a fucking spy. He's a Russian spy.
Right. What? No password today? Shot in the face, like
just
in the
straight
cheek.
through the mouth. Yeah, like it was out of his cheek.
Oh man. But I mean, now we got to go to the meat and potatoes of the Shape of Water, John. The romance.
Well, so one of the main things that I noticed was that this wasn't your typical 50s movie where the main characters, the female character lead, is just like a side character. And in some crazy good way, he made a mute character the centerpiece of the story. And she said so much through her acting and through like physical presence on film that she ended up saying like some really important things about what was going on during that time period. And like the film itself breaks a lot of things that you normally don't see. Like you don't normally see female masturbation on film that's not porn.
Right. That was like, I was like, oh wow, we're getting into that already. Okay.
Like it's part of her daily routine. Like that's her morning.
Right.
And she just does it every morning, and it's like normal. It's part of her life, and it's not seen as like this exclusively sexual thing made for like men to watch. And that's like one of the important things about that scene.
It's like her cup of coffee.
Right, yeah, exactly. And like it really gets at the idea that like, so one of the things that's like brought up and studied in parts of film theory and like critical analysis is the idea of this male gaze, where most films about women or that include women are made so that men can enjoy watching it, aka something that's like porn, or like you would have gotten a full frontal shot of her masturbating if it was made for the male gaze. But instead you kind of get a cutaway where you know what she's doing, but you don't get to see everything that's happening. So all you need to know,
like a split second.
Yeah, it's like this is a part of her routine, and that's all you need to know about it. And it's done in such a good way, too, considering that it has like sort of no relevance to the story, but it gives you an idea of like who she is. She knows like what she wants.
She gets up every morning. She cooks her eggs. She makes her sandwiches. She makes sure that her neighbor is alive and well.
Yeah.
And she sleeps on the bus every time she goes to work.
Yep, every morning goes there, and every time she comes back. Because
so
she works nights, I think, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it was great though because of the like Guillermo del Toro picked her simply because he said she was my first pick and she was my only pick because he wanted a female that wasn't model-like or godlike, but someone that you could just fall in love with.
Yeah,
and
there was
mainly
a lot of
through
stuff
the
on
eyes. And like when she's talking to Giles about, they have a creature and he understands me for me and doesn't see me for my flaws because I can't speak.
They take away the subtitles in that moment, so you the only translation you have is through her friend.
And it's because it's taking its time. It's like he loves me, and for me, and it's like it's a beautiful thing because she begins like, experimenting with him with music, giving him more food, like showing him how to dance. Like it's super cute. Is what I would just call it. I mean, like it's really a fairy tale. And did you notice the movie playing in the theater?
So there was a bunch. There was like 3 or 4 different films. But what was the first one?
Right. Well, I'll tell you the main one.
Yeah.
So the story of Ruth from 1960.
Okay.
The story of Ruth features a plot taken from the biblical story of Ruth.
Okay.
Where the female protagonist is given up as a child, raised to be a priestess to pagan gods.
Oh, dang.
Until she then meets an outsider with different values and a belief in a one true God. They fall in love, but they are persecuted, and he is in prison, and she makes a failed attempt to free him.
Oh, wow. I did not realize just how important that was to the film, but that's really cool that you found that out.
Yeah, it is. And like that's not the only biblical reference, because we have what is it?
Story of Samson and Delilah.
Story of Samson with Delilah.
With
how
his hair getting cut.
With his hair getting cut, losing his powers, just to reach out in a last effort of glory to ask for God for strength, and crumbles the temple all around.
Yeah,
all the naysayers.
Fucking Strickland says the story, and I guess in that moment he is comparing himself to Samson, which is so pretentious, but that's like his belief, is that everything is going to go bad until it goes right for him at the end, and he thinks he really succeeds but doesn't.
Right. And the thing is, the creature is she takes care of him. She helps him escape with the help of the scientist and Octavia. And it's really crazy and on the nose. I mean, they even have the Israeli popper, is what they call it.
Right.
But that whole scene is just very tense. But after that, I mean, she's just taking care of him in her bath, and she even goes too far as to, like, not too far, but she like puts a towel in her room and she fills the whole thing with water.
So that for some reason I didn't like this scene, and
it seemed a little fake.
Well, that's the thing. I'm like, why am I getting so worked up about this scene when, like, it's literally about a lady falling in love with a fish dude? Like, your suspension of disbelief should be gone already. But I was still like, who the fuck floods an entire fucking room like that? And I was so upset. But it was still like
leaks into the theater too.
Yeah, and like gets all these people like upset, and it's just so funny to me that that's what kind of threw me out of the story. But it was just for like the cinematic effect of her being like underwater with him.
But, yeah, and like we got to talk about the elephant in the room, John.
Whether or not you see fish penis.
Yeah, this movie did not have any fish penis.
No,
0 out of 10. Do not recommend. No, I'm just kidding.
Right? Yeah, it doesn't deserve any of the awards it got.
No, but I mean, everyone was like, really, a movie about a girl fucking a fish won the best picture.
You do get a consolation prize of knowing how it functions, though.
Yep.
It's like it's apparently like it just retracts, like it goes in and out.
Yeah, I thought it was so funny how Octavia Spencer's character is just like, man, you can't trust the man even if he has nothing down there.
Yeah, that's just hilarious. And she knows. I love that she knows her friend has had sex recently because she's so happy and is just like, well, what happened? And then she asks her, like, how is that even possible? And you get this little like hand diagram that Eliza does, and like it's just her, and then she like does a finger straight through her hands to show that like it just opens, I guess.
Right.
It was too funny because you got the visual without having to see it. Like, he wasn't gonna make a fish penis for you to see in the fucking theater.
I'm glad.
Yeah, I mean, it's so funny to me that was like all implied, and it's well done too, because it's like what you had mentioned earlier, where the main character was not intended to be your typical character that you see for the like female leads. They usually make them very, very, very attractive, like obscenely, like. They either are super attractive, they don't really know what they're doing, they're not like very sure of themselves, and she's none of it. So she's not conventionally attractive, although she is an attractive character, but in so many different ways. And it's like you get to see her be a very like dominant character. She knows what she wants. She's not afraid to like follow what she's really believing in. And she does so as a mute character. She doesn't really say much throughout the film besides the singing. And then at the end, you find out so I couldn't figure out at the end if she was given the gills or if she had had them the whole time.
I believe the monster, after getting shot, and she was like about to die, he has healing powers.
Right.
But I feel like he basically made gills on her from her.
I thought so. Okay. That's what I thought too. I thought he like found a way for her to live underwater. So he was like, here's some gills.
I love the throwback callback to the fucking Creature from the Black
Yep.
Lagoon where he has her in his arms.
Oh,
Oh,
totally.
I got so giddy when that happened. I was like,
Yes, this is it. This is the moment. And that's the cover. That's like the poster.
yeah, when they're hugging
Yeah.
with the shoe falling and she's in a red dress. It's
really good.
It's poetic. This whole movie's poetic.
Yeah, it
It's
gets at the idea that there is some way to escape from whatever is going on as long as you have that like love from another person.
I love Giles' character too when he's like, man, this old face and the only thing I recognize is these eyes. And then he slowly regains his hair with the fish person.
Yeah, he like
He's just
heals his I don't know, hair loss, I guess, and
hair
like
loss.
has his hair regrow. I felt so conflicted about his character though. Giles to me was interesting as a character because he's a closeted gay man in the 50s trying to like come to terms with that because at that time they thought it was like a mental illness. So
Yeah.
he didn't really know how to go about that. But what really threw me off was during one of the scenes there is current events being shown on TV, which is the segregation and the riots about the police just straight up kicking black people out of certain areas. And he's like, I don't want to see it. Like, I don't want to see any of it. And like switches to a movie. And it's a weird moment because you do want to care about a disenfranchised character who's gay, but he doesn't care about anyone else. Like he doesn't care about black people during that time period. So
Well,
it's like he's dealing with his own stuff, but he also doesn't care about other stuff. So I felt weird about it.
I feel like he's at that point where like to him that stuff is just uncalled for and not necessary. I mean, it shows the hosing of black people in the 60s.
Yeah, which is fucked up.
And yeah, but the thing is like I feel like his character didn't want to see that simply because it's a disparity for a certain minority. That's why he defends the people in the shop, the pie shop. He says, you don't have to do that to them, dude. You don't.
Yeah, he really does. He's like, that's like so unnecessary to do something like that. So that's true. That's a good point. He does say something in that moment.
And the thing is, he's probably, faced so much fucking discrimination with him being a gay man.
I'm guessing that he didn't get rehired at that place because he was gay and they found out.
Oh, I didn't even make that connection.
Yeah,
Jesus.
I think that's why they were like kind of stringing him along where he was just like, yeah, now's not a good time. And I think it's because the guy knew but didn't want to say it to his face to be like, we're not hiring you because you're gay. So it was like that.
When is a good time?
Yeah, exactly. And he like confronts him and he's like, and then they just don't buy his painting, which sucks. Which is also like totally a film history kind of thing where all of the people who were painting the film posters suddenly were out of a job because they were starting to use photography for the film posters. So like that was like one of the periods of time where they started using different stuff. It didn't come back into popularity until like the late 70s, early 80s when they did it for like Blade Runner and Star Wars and shit like that.
Right.
So
and that's the thing. Like there's so many. This movie is drenched in its timepiece.
Yeah, for real.
And it's aesthetic, film wise. I didn't know. Like, did you know that the sign on the fucking theater is CGI?
I did not know that. Holy shit.
Like there's so many scenes in this movie where I'm like, wow, that looks really great, and they're not there.
I do know that the theater inside is a real theater. The outside of the theater is a facade, and then the interior of the apartment was a studio set.
I don't know, man. Like the set design on this it's the greens and blues in the soap dispensers, the cars, the fucking.
It was very like period accurate. Like this is exactly what it would have looked like.
It hits the notes, and I love how Strickland says these are Amazonian people. They're primitive people. They would throw flowers and fruits into the river as offerings for this god. And then when he finally gets destroyed by this creature, he's like, you are a god, because he sees the regeneration.
I love that. He's like, oh shit, you are a god. And then gets his throat cut.
There's a lot I could say about The Shape of Water, but the thing is, it's just a all-around good film.
Yeah.
And the soundtrack, I've never done this for an episode of the podcast.
Yeah.
Where I see a movie and I listen to the soundtrack and I go out the next day and buy a vinyl record of it.
Fuck yeah.
I talk about the vinyl here and there on the podcast a little bit, but if you can support a local record store at this time because they need the business.
Hell yeah.
But definitely check out the Shape of Water soundtrack. It will move you in so many ways, and I have a lot. It's just a good movie, dude. I can't fucking say anything else about it.
If you're gonna watch it, you should watch it by yourself so you can have a good cry, because it's gonna make you cry. And it's just because of the like love story that they've dropped into an unlikely setting and having so many things intersect within the narrative. It works really well, and it felt like a really mature film for Del Toro, who I feel like up to this point had been kind of like really focusing in on what kind of movies he wanted to make. And this is like one of the best films he's made. This one and like Pan's Labyrinth, I think, are like up there. Those are really good.
This is his most mature film.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I think that's like one of the notes I made too, where I feel like this was one of the more mature films that he had because it dealt with so much. And it was still, it wasn't so deep that you couldn't figure out what the hell the movie was talking about. It was doing it kind of in broad strokes, but it was still entertaining.
He also said if this movie did not do well, he would have stopped directing altogether.
Yeah, that's wild. He was like ready to just be like, I don't fucking want to do this anymore. But like it did so well. It was like a huge commercial success.
And it deserves every accolade that it got, I believe. I didn't see this in 2017, but God, do I wish I did. I wish I did.
Right, yeah. I definitely watched it in theaters, and it was like fucking awesome to watch in theaters. One of the only other things I wanted to mention about it was there's like quotes in the movie, and there's one that's like written on the little date thing that she's putting, like when she's gonna take him to the docks. And the one she pulls off, it says, "Life is but the shipwreck of our plans." And I was like, that's such a good quote for like their whole fucking thing, because she had so many plans like for her life, for what she was gonna do, possibly staying with him for a long time, and then she was ready to just let him go into the ocean and everything, but because of what had happened with Strickland, she was actually able to go with him. So it was just a whole mess of things that happened.
And I didn't think that was going to happen. They did a bold thing where they just go off.
Right.
You know? And I thought he was going to heal her and then she was going to get out of the water and just stay with her humans, but the monster makes out with the girl.
It's exactly what he wanted.
I think this is the last thing that I will note.
Yeah.
It ends with a beautiful poem.
Yeah, it's so good. Do you have it?
Yes.
Yeah, go for it.
Unable to perceive the shape of you, I find you all around me. Your presence fills my eyes with your love. It humbles my heart, for you are everywhere.
Nice. Snaps. It's like it's such a good bookend to the story, because you have the narration from Giles, who was the like only witness to the whole story. And I'm guessing Del Toro wrote that bit because it's like it can't be found anywhere. Like I looked it up to see if maybe it was a quote from somebody, but there's no like specific reference.
That is like, man, love for a love poem. That is just too good.
Yeah, that was really good. That's well done. I wonder if it was Del Toro or if it was just somebody who was like there on set. They're like, I need a poem. Just write me a poem. And then they made this, and it was so good for the ending. Like that's the last lines of it, and you get to see them like hugging together at the end.
I mean, they are water now.
Right? Yeah. I assume they're just gonna escape into the ocean and then live happily ever after. He even says it. The narrator's like, I don't know. I like to think that they got away and lived happily ever after, but you know, it just makes me think about this poem, and then says the poem. But that makes me think about, so what were like some of your favorite scenes from both films?
Hellboy, probably the scene with the mechanical man. And the Nazi intro. I love the little notes about what Hitler did and the Spear of Destiny.
Yeah.
I really wish we could have went further on that, but that's whatever.
Oh, like all the history?
not even that. Just like the spear. I thought it was a loaded gun. You know.
Yeah, I really did too. It was definitely like a film thing for us to be like, yo, is that gonna like show up later?
The cog kill is hands down like just because he's with the shitty FBI leader and their dynamic for saving one another was really cool
Right.
in that scene. And then Shape of Water, I think when he runs out and he goes into the theater and just stares at the screen
Yeah, he's just
and
in awe.
and he puts his hand on his heart and it's like he's signing to her like love or something like that.
Oh man, I hadn't thought about that. Yeah, he's probably telling her that like he felt some kind of way about watching the film.
Right. And I think other than that, the escape scene, just the entire dynamic of it was a lot of fun.
Right.
I love how Giles overreacted because he was like, "I'm not good at this, man. I'm not good at this."
Man, they made a rookie mistake by writing in the ink very like right before it because the guy like smudged it off and that's how he figured it out.
Yeah, and then the bioluminescence at the end with the shot, also with him grabbing the girl creature of the Black Lagoon style. So
yep,
those are my favorite.
Dang, those are good ones.
I'm sorry, there's too many good ones.
The Hellboy one. My favorite scene from Hellboy is probably like the smaller moments when he's talking to people. Like one of them is when he goes and meets the Samael creature, and he's just like, I'm not a very good shot here, but the Samaritan here uses really big bullets. And it's just like doesn't have to be a good shot because it's such a big fucking gun. And
right,
that shit is funny. And then there's another part where he's fighting the same creature and he's like, this is the second date, no tongue, and like has like the tongue wrapped around his fist because he's trying to like get him out of the subway while holding like a box of kittens.
Oh yeah, I totally forgot about that. He loves kittens.
Yeah, he has like those one-liners which are hilarious. Like that part, and then God, when is it? When he's talking to, I think it's when he's talking to Myers about how he feels about Liz, and is explaining like it's just not that easy. Like, and he's just like, no, like all you gotta do is talk to her, and it'll work out fine. Mitch, what were some of your favorite scenes in both films?
One of my favorite scenes from that one is definitely the one in the bathroom where she like plugs up the door and everything and it floods the place and it's just super like weird and like that shouldn't work, but we'll let it go because it's so cute.
It's true. Yeah, I feel like that was one of the things where I was like, this wouldn't work, but okay.
Yeah, exactly. But it was great because but I like that it started like flooding and affected everyone. So everyone's like, oh, there was a terrible flood upstairs.
Yeah, that was great.
And then for Hellboy, my favorite scene from that one. Damn, there's a lot of cool ones. There's like a lot of cool fights. I think the whole chase scene with the first son of Samael is pretty awesome.
Where they're like running through the city.
Yeah, just like that whole entire like span of time is just pretty great. Just with the one.
I like that he puts his stony finger into like the goo and he's like, I think you got a leak.
Yeah, you got a leak.
He's got so many good one-liners throughout the film. And it's so good because it's Ron Perlman. Yeah.
Did you have a favorite scene from The Shape of Water or The Shape of Water, John?
From The Shape of Water, I feel like one of my favorite scenes was when Strickland is explaining to God, we mentioned it earlier. It's not my favorite because it's a good scene, but it's just because it's well written dialogue for the character. And he's explaining how washing your hands more than once
yes,
is a sign of a weak character. And I didn't get it. I was like, is this just really 50s like macho masculine ideals? Like he's like, no. I wash my hands before my business and then I don't wash my hands after that. And I'm like, what the fuck? Like, what is this? But it was so on brand for his really terrible villain character. So I was like, yeah, this works out for him.
I never wipe my hands when I pee.
Yeah, it was just like,
bruh, that's straight up heresy.
Yeah,
that's heresy right now.
And then, of course, the end scene. I was very excited when I first watched it to be like, yes, they're both gonna live together, and she's like grown gills and shit. Like it's the poster, and you have that moment where you're like, oh, this is the moment where they show you like what the poster is on top of what the name of the film is, where he's like the shape of you.
I was totally out of the loop because my internet killed me, but another great, like, big, confusing, like, conflicted emotional scene in Shape of Water that I love is when Dimitri is getting beat up by the other, like, KBG guys, is getting shot by them.
Yeah.
And then out of fucking nowhere comes Mr. Limpy McBarbiturate, and he just starts fucking capping people.
Dude, he's a good shot. Like he gets
and you're
him,
like you don't know
head.
here to go, oh no, but you're like, yay, but no.
Yeah.
Like,
I felt bad for Dimitri, honestly.
Yeah, honestly, he's the best person, but I guess historically good people are never treated very well.
No.
What did you guys think of the black and white show tune scene?
I loved it. It's just it was such a tribute to that specific time period of film that was considered to be like the golden age of film. When they were doing show tunes, they were excited to have a musical number in their movies because it showed the skill of their actors. Their actors could sing, they could dance, they could act. Like that was like the three things you had to do in film during that time period. And so for her, she's a theater actor. So she was able to put her like skills on display for the film. She can actually dance, she knows how to sing, and she knows how to act. So this was a cool moment for her.
It was also a super important moment because it's the only time the mute actually says something.
Yeah, exactly.
And she sounds craggly at first.
Yeah.
But then it goes into the soundtrack. But I think it was so beautiful because she doesn't talk this entire time, and she doesn't even attempt to talk to anyone. But she'll attempt to sing to a creature that can't understand. And that's why that track, I Miss You or whatever it was,
so emotional.
Just hit so much harder for me. And that's why I cried punching in on Thursday.
She was so close. She was so close to winning an award, and she didn't say anything in the entire film. She was definitely nominated as like the best actor in the film, like in a leading role, but she didn't win it.
She absolutely definitely deserved to be in the running for it. I don't know. Her portrayal of a mute character portrays so much emotion in her role, despite being mute.
Yeah,
and does it really, really well. And you're actually like, God damn, I'm actually a little afraid of this really tiny person. Like, she's actually upset.
It's a really good credit to her theater acting that she's able to express that much emotion through just her body language and her face.
Hell yeah.
So that was pretty much it. What would you guys rate these movies?
Hellboy, like 7, 6.5. It's a comic book movie.
Yeah.
One of the first. It hits some notes, but I kind of want to see what the sequel's about. Maybe my opinion will change on the first.
Yeah, you should actually go watch the second one.
Shape of Water? Oh, man. I'll give this the Myrrh seal of approval. Never given to a movie. We'll just say it's like an 11 out of 10 for me. That's the Myrrh seal of approval. 11 out of 10.
What do you think, Mitch?
I would probably go with like a 7.5 for Hellboy in terms of like quality. So the CGI is a little bit dated, to be honest.
Yeah.
And it's more noticeable now that I'm rewatching it. But other than that, I enjoy Perlman's take on the character, and I love all the homage to the comics. So it gets a solid 7.5 just for really trying. It went really hard. It went hard, but not hard enough, I guess. Shape of Water is easy 10 for me.
Nice.
It's just that good. Like, it's just that good. It really does a really good story. It does a really good. It has probably one of the most, like, I don't know. It has a lot of the most like creepiest scenes. It really makes you feel a lot in all of the scenes. It does a really good job of capturing your emotions, different ones too.
What would you rate these films?
I would say for Hellboy, I would give it like an 8.
Damn.
I just liked the pacing of the film. I didn't feel like they wasted time on much of anything. anytime they did slow down and show you more of the characters, it felt right to me that you were learning more about Hellboy and how he feels about Liz and his like how he's sort of not fully matured. Like he's kind of like a teenager, which is really funny to me because he's just so powerful, and he has to deal with kind of growing up and growing much slower than his father does. So he has to like experience losing other humans that are gonna age out pretty quickly. So it's just it was a good story. I liked it. I love the Hellboy comics too, so I thought it was like a good adaptation of it.
They are really good.
Yeah, it's a really good story. He deals with so much internal conflict as he goes through all of the stories in the comics, and this is a really good portrayal of that, but like the larger overarching story for it. And then for The Shape of Water, I'd also give it a 10, just because to me it's like what The Lighthouse was for its specific like niche genre, where it's like this is specifically a like love story about a woman and a creature, and it's not ever been done really. Like it's so specific, and I don't think anyone will ever make anything like it again because it's just so specifically made by Del Toro. And
if anyone does it, it's obviously a ripoff.
Yeah, it's going to be like such a hard rip of whatever he's doing. And he found a way to keep you interested all the way through, even though you didn't really know what the fuck was happening in part of the story. And then you get a lot of sympathy for like the other, for the creature, for her, for any disenfranchised character in the story. And it's so well done. And considering it's made by a Mexican-American director, he's like spot on with getting that dialogue just right. And it's not punching you in the face where it's so obvious that it feels like a stereotype or like a trope. Somehow this movie was unique all the way through and didn't feel like it was really borrowing too much from things, but it obviously had a visual and like aesthetic tribute to older films, and it was just all the way through. I liked it, and I would definitely rewatch it like over and over again, mostly to see people's reactions for what happens, because I was really sad at the end when I first watched it and then realized that they actually make it all the way through. So it's fun to show someone as like an unconventional love story with like horror-esque vibes in it because of the setting. So I definitely recommend watching it.
Oh yeah.
Was there anything else? Any last thoughts?
Yes. Go buy the soundtrack at a local record.
Yeah, the vinyl.
It's even fish person blue.
Oh, hell yeah. Okay. Like the blue like on him, like that dark blue.
Yeah, like that scaly like blue.
Yeah. All right. Cool. Well, then, before I let everyone go, I want to remind everyone we're super easy to find. We're on basically any streaming service where you go to listen to podcasts. Some of the main ones are going to be the Apple Podcast, the Google Podcast, as well as iHeartRadio and Spotify. So you can find us on any of those. Just look up Bringing Down the Grindhouse. You can also look at our social medias, which are going to be BDTGH_podcast, or go to BDTGHpodcast.com. And you can listen to the episodes there or follow any of the links through to one of the streaming services. We are also getting the episodes up onto YouTube very slowly, but eventually it'll catch up to where we're at now, which is like the 52nd episode.
God damn.
Yeah, we're somewhere around there. We've been doing it for like over a year now, so we're getting like pretty deep into it. And then of course we have our Patreon that's running currently, where we're gonna have a special like behind the scenes post. So some bloopers we have before we start episodes. We usually chat for 10 to 15 minutes about random stuff to kind of get us prepared for the podcast. So I'm going to start cutting those up and putting them up. We also have our solo episodes from Mitch, Murr, and myself, which focus on video games with Mitch, and then on monster movies with Murr. And then any afterthoughts that I have for film is going to be on there. We are going to try to fill that up so that when you go, you can actually get a bunch of different behind the scenes look at it. But if you could also leave a review at the Apple Podcast, it really helps us on the website, and it helps us get seen more easily. And then feel free to send us any messages you have, so recommendations, any critiques of the podcast that you've listened to so far, or if you wanted to talk about something specific, I'm more than happy to answer any of those messages. But I hope everyone has a good night.
I'm Mitch.
I'm Murr.
And I'm John. Thank you.